Hello Year 12, this is an analysis of Act 5, Scene 2, the final scene of Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. Hamlet is in conversation with Horatio about how he's changed, how he came back from after being sent to England. He was on the way there and basically the ship was stopped by pirates. Hamlet joined the pirates and made his way back to Denmark. And he explains to Horatio how he's changed on the inside. When he says, "Sir, in my heart there was a kind of fighting that would not let me sleep." This metaphoric fighting, him wrestling with his desire to act, to get revenge for his father. "Rashly, and praised be rashness for it, let us know our indiscretion sometimes serves us well." So this ties into the ideas of action versus thought. He's personifying rashness, that is acting without thinking, and showing that it's actually something that makes things easier, makes life better. We get good things from doing that from doing things without thinking. And he goes on to say, "When our deep plots do pale, and that should teach us there's a divinity that shapes our ends." So he believes that that fate is in control of his life rather than himself, or he's referring to a higher power. Whatever it is, he's personifying that and saying that there's some external factor that it controls my life as opposed to my thoughts and decisions. Hamlet again talks to Horatio about his uncle Claudius, who had tried to kill him. Hamlet knew this because he had apprehended a letter that was given to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, who were to deliver it to the King of England, and it said to execute Hamlet. Hamlet changed the letter so that it said to execute Rosencrantz and Guildenstern without them knowing, so they went off to their deaths in England. And Horatio is quite shocked about the fact that Claudius would do this to Hamlet, would send him to his death, and also what Hamlet's prepared to do to Claudius. Hamlet says, "Does it not, thinks thee, stand me now upon, he that have killed my king and whored my mother?" These two things echo from the first soliloquy, where he mourns for the loss of his father and how his mother's quickly remarried. So these are recurring themes. Is it not perfect conscience to quit him with his arm? So he's justifying his actions, or his intended actions of killing Claudius. "And is it not to be damned to let this canker of our nature come in further evil?" The canker, that is a metaphor for, it's like a type of cancer, is a metaphor for sin. So he's saying, need to do this as quickly as possible, rather than let this desire for revenge become a bigger problem, become a sin for me, rather than actually seeking justice. So there's a fine line, Hamlet realizes, is between getting revenge and having justice and actually sinning. He does, though, regret the way he acted towards Laertes in Act 5, Scene 1, when they came into a scuffle over the body of Ophelia, who was being buried. And he says, "But I am very sorry, good Horatio, that to Laertes I forgot myself, for by the image of my cause I see the portraiture of his." So is the parallel between the avenging sons. Hamlet recognises that Laertes would be wanting to do what Hamlet's been wanting to do in relation to his own father. Just before this particular part of that scene, Osric, who replaces Polonius, comes to Hamlet with an offer of fighting a duel with Laertes. It's something that's been organised by Claudius. We know that there is actually a scheme behind it between Claudius and Laertes to kill Hamlet. Even though Hamlet doesn't know of this conversation, he knows that Claudius will try to use this as a way to kill him. It is meant to be a friendly match, and there'll be people watching, so it should, in a sense, be safe. But Horatio also has misgivings about Hamlet doing it. Hamlet has agreed to do it, though. And Hamlet tells him not to worry. He says, "Not a whit, we defy augury. There's a special providence in the fall of a sparrow." It's a biblical allusion to, I think it's the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 10:29, where Jesus claims that you need not worry about tomorrow because, God loves the sparrows, looks after them, feeds them, how much more will he do for you? So he's saying he's not worried, in a sense. When he talks about it, in the next few lines, he's talking about death. If death be now, 'tis not to come. If it be not to come, it will be now. If it be not now, yet it will come. It seems like a rather circular argument. The readiness is all, since no man has aught of what he leaves, what is it to leave betimes? What he's saying here is that death is not a problem for him. He has reconciled himself to the fact that he will die because no one will know when death is going to happen. So he says the main thing is that you're just ready for it to happen when it does. At the beginning of the duel scene, Hamlet says to Laertes, "Give me your pardon, sir, I've done you wrong." So that part is sincere in the speech. But what he does is a little bit like Claudius, who speaks beautifully and says the right thing, but actually covering up the reality of what's going on in his mind, what are his true plans. When he says, "I am punished with sore distraction, what I have done, I here proclaim as madness," this is not actually true. Hamlet was never mad, but he did not intend to kill Polonius, he was trying to kill Claudius. And Claudius is the only one in the audience who actually knows that. Not even Laertes knows that Hamlet was trying to kill Claudius, not his own father. So this is an interesting section to link to the theme of appearance versus reality. Because Laertes goes on to say, "I'm satisfied in nature, whose motive in this case should stir my most something revenge." Sorry, it cuts off. But his speech here is saying, at this point, I'm satisfied, I will not harm you. And this particular speech is all deceit. But it's crowd pleasing. During the course of the fighting, Laertes with his poisonous sword, all he needs to do is scratch Hamlet, just get a little bit of blood, and that will be enough to kill him. He doesn't actually have to stab him or do anything drastic. So Hamlet's death should appear quite mysterious, and Laertes would not be connected with the murder or the death. And also, just to safeguard Hamlet's death, Claudius has also got a cup of wine in which he's put in a poisoned pearl, which Hamlet can drink from when he needs a drink between bouts of fencing. But what happens is Gertrude takes a drink of the cup in honour of her son, and he has an aside, "It is a poisoned cup, it is too late." He's trying to stop her. And this stage direction, because it's an aside, shows directly what he's feeling. So this is an honest representation of what's going on in Claudius's mind. So he realizes that his actions have these dire consequences which cause him this great loss. He actually does love Gertrude, and to lose her is a great loss and not what he intended. So it shows here how interestingly the things that one plans for, so the actions one take doesn't necessarily result in what one has originally planned for. And Laertes also has an aside, again showing us his inner thoughts. He's about to kill Hamlet with the poisoned sword, and he says, "And yet 'tis almost against my conscience." So there's a bit of a struggle between his morals and his desire for revenge. And then during the scuffle, when Laertes scratches Hamlet, then somehow they switch swords, and Hamlet scratches Laertes. Laertes knows he's going to die when he says, "I am justly killed with mine own treachery." So he realizes the justice in this situation. Gertrude faints as a result of drinking the poisoned drink. Claudius tries to cover it up, saying, "Oh, she's only fainting because she sees blood." And she says she realizes at this point what's been happening, how treacherous Claudius has actually been. And she says, no, no, the drink, oh my dear Hamlet. So she appeals to Hamlet. She realizes now that Hamlet was right all along. The drink, notice the repetition of that. She's warning him, I am poisoned. And the whole idea of poison is a recurring motif. Everyone who dies, apart from Ophelia, whose wits are poisoned, dies from poison in this play. So old Hamlet, Laertes, Claudius, well, he gets stabbed as well, but that's by the by, and Gertrude. And Hamlet tries to uncover what's happened with his mother, why she died, and Laertes explains the cause of it is here, Hamlet, thou art slain. So he's telling you, look, you're dead or dying. No medicine in the world can do thee good. In thee there is not half an hour of life. The treacherous instrument is in thy hand, unbaited and envenomed. So you're carrying the poisoned sword which had scratched you. The foul practice have turned itself on me, and lo, here I lie. So he recognizes the justice in him being killed by his own sword. Never to rise again, thy mother's poisoned, I can no more. The king's to blame. That repetition, he's emphasizing the fact that the king is the one who's behind it all, and he's also trying to make right of the wrong that he's just done. Hamlet gets very angry, as you can see there with David Tennant, about to stab Claudius. And so he yells out the point, and venom to, then venom to thy work. So he stabs King Claudius with the venom sword, so the recurring motif of poison. And his last words to Claudius as he dies, hear thou incestuous, murderous, damned Dane. So that cumulative list of all his sins, he's like, this is what you're dying for, this is what I'm punishing you for. Drink of this potion, is thy union here, follow my mother. So not only does he stab him with a poisoned sword, he pours poison down his throat. And as Hamlet lies dying in Horatio's arms, Horatio is the only one who really lives through this whole mass murder. He says, Horatio, I am dead, thou livest, report me and my cause of right to the unsatisfied. So Hamlet, on his deathbed, shows that he really values truth. He doesn't feel like he's died for no good reason. He wants the story, the truth of his story, to get out to everyone so they know what's happened. And so any further destruction can be alleviated as a result. But I do prophesy the election lights on Fortinbras. He has my dying voice. So there's this interesting connection between the two sons, Fortinbras and Hamlet. Hamlet, we know, admires Fortinbras for his actions. We don't know Fortinbras's thoughts on Hamlet at this point, but he sees something in Fortinbras that he thinks is kingly enough to take over Elsinore and make things right again. So tell him with the occurrence more and less which have solicited. So he's saying, tell Fortinbras what has happened. And he says the rest is silent. So death is the end of the story for Hamlet. And Horatio uses a synecdoche, which is referring to a part of a whole. Now cracks a noble heart. He's talking about Hamlet and being a noble heart. Good night, sweet prince, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. And then he questions, why does the drum come hither? So suddenly someone's coming in. Elsinore is being taken over by the Norwegians, who are led by Fortinbras. And Fortinbras, after hearing a bit of what Horatio's had to say, he orders for Hamlet to be buried in a respectful manner. He kind of ignores Claudius and Gertrude lying there, who are the king and queen, but honours Hamlet. He says, let 4 captains bear Hamlet like a soldier to the stage, for he was likely, had he been put on, to have proved most royally. He is the one with the last words in this play. So it's the start of a new era, and I feel that it's a sign of hope that there is a chance for Elsinore to be made good again, that it will no longer be an unweeded garden or a sinful court. It will be ruled by a good king who actually has the right to take over this place and make things good again. But he honours Hamlet by having him buried like a soldier, which is interesting because Hamlet was never really a soldier. He was a scholar, he was a courtier, but he was never actually a soldier. But this is his way of honouring Hamlet. And he acknowledges that Hamlet would have made a good king had he gotten to that point. So there's that mutual respect between the two sons of fathers long gone. And that's the end of the play. Woohoo! Good on you guys. See ya. Bye.